Let's move to South Sudan, where thousands of people are being displaced by violence between the government and rebel groups. The fighting is so bad, the UN and other groups are having trouble getting food and other aid to the hungry. Arash Arabasadi reports.
These are internally displaced people, or IDPs, in South Sudan. Violence has forced them to flee their homes, but they still live within the country's borders. It's at camps like this that the United Nations is able to deliver aid.
Right now, we have access to people who have been affected by the conflict and are living in these protection of civilian areas. But there are very few places outside those areas in the conflict-affected states that we've been able to access the population.
Valerie Guarnieri is regional director of the UN's World Food Program. She oversees aid to the nearly 100 food stock sites around South Sudan. But nearly 10% of the aid has been stolen. That's enough to feed these refugees for 1 month. Guarnieri says providing safety for aid workers is as much of a challenge outside these camps as raising the money for aid.
Right now, we're relying on food that we'd pre-positioned in South Sudan for other activities, but moving forward, we're going to need at least $57 million, but likely more, in order to assist the conflict-affected people.
And the number of those affected by the current conflict is growing. While government and rebel delegates hold peace talks in Ethiopia, forces for two sides clash daily across South Sudan. On Tuesday, the UN said almost 500,000 South Sudanese civilians have been driven from their homes, with 75,000 fleeing to neighboring countries. The conflict has raised fears the country could slide into all-out civil war, a scenario that could halt the country's oil production and further destabilize an already unstable part of Africa. Arash Arabasadi for VOA News, Washington.